Hello, everybody. Happy Friday. How we doing, Johnny Mo?
I'm doing well. How you doing?
Good. Doing great.
Yeah, it's you live right up the road from me in literal sense. I mean, hour away, hour and a half away, and we're in New England, and it's not normally this warm outside, and it's absolutely warm outside, and I'm above this side of the dirt to enjoy it. So it's a great day here.
It absolutely is. We went from 50 below last weekend to 50 degrees today, so I'm happy about that.
It's crazy. It's crazy. So what's happening, man? How you doing? I feel like I just saw you.
I know. I feel like I just saw you. We were working in the studio, getting some videos out. We'll talk a little bit about that. We actually have. I put a question out in the Community Leaders Facebook group this week, just asking what questions people have. What's going on in your business? What's new? What do you need some help with?
Yeah.
We took a look at those questions. Some of them we can answer. Some of them we actually talked to a couple other people to get some answers on, and want to jump on today, share some answers, talk a little bit about what we're up to, and go from there. So if any point during this video you're watching, feel free to drop a comment. We can see it. We can bring it up live and dive into whatever other issues you may have. It's a mouthful.
Technology, man. It's a son of a gun.
And then we'll have a little fun here. So let's kick it off with a question. This actually came from Johnny Mo, of course. So I had asked the question of, what questions do you have in your business right now? What are you looking for? What do you need? First question out of Johnny Mo was how to find listings in this market.
Yeah.
So some of you may be following along with us. We're doing a 90 listings in 90 days challenge. That's something that we at the Matea Group have done 3 or 4 times now. I'm not sure how many we've done exactly. We have done it. We have taken 91 listings in 89 days. I believe that was 2021. We took 91 and 89. The other times we've come really close to the 90, but either way, the purpose of the event is not to take the 90 listings. It's to get back into momentum and action and drive the results and activities. So that's what we're really searching for. Yeah. So if you're not following along with us on that, please do. The link is actually in the Community Leaders Facebook group. If you can't find it, let us know. We're happy to share that with you. And one of the topics that I had brought up during one of our calls was we try to focus hard on really 3 key pillars of lead generation in order to be able to do that. First one being the database. The people are really the best source of business you're going to find. For sure. And it's often the most overlooked and neglected because we assume, well, they know us. Of course they're going to use us. Right, Johnny Mo?
That's 100% right.
And what we find out is when we don't pay enough attention to them, we don't keep them engaged. You see a sign go up and it's somebody else's sign. You're confused why they didn't use you. And ultimately that's our fault for not staying in touch. So we're big into the database, and that follow-up can come in all kinds of different ways. It can be phone calls, text messages, note cards, social media messaging, whatever works for you. We're also big believers in newsletters as a way to share what's going on, keep people engaged, share information, and really try to create some valuable content so people have a reason to engage and look at it. We get great open rates. We get a lot of people that are participating with us, a lot of people that are playing along in whatever raffle or sort of thing we might be having. And we just did a video on that too as well, trying to share some of the specifics behind that newsletter. But ultimately, you have to engage that database. If you don't talk to the people that already know you, in most cases like you, you're not going to get those referrals that you're expecting to get.
100% right. And I think that there's a lot to unbox in what you just said. And oftentimes we get carried away with automation. Mm-hmm. And we would just want to automate everything, but you can't automate authenticity. You just can't. Yep. You're not going to get an AI video. You're not going to get some company that's reposting for you or anything. None of that is authentic. So it just becomes noise at some point. So you got to have that authenticity, but you also have to meet the consumer where the consumer is at. And I say this often, and I use Zillow as the example. Back when Zillow came out, I think it was 2003, 6, somewhere around there, one of those.
Been a while.
It didn't exist, right? And so every agent out there that was getting the internet was still brand new. Heck, it's still brand new. People are still learning things, right? It's always evolving. But agents across the country were always, they had a website. If they had a good website, right, then you could search IDX and all these other things on there, but they were forcing the registration on there.
Mhm.
So what Zillow did was they came across and said, we'll give you all the information that you want for free. And then we're going to track you around the internet. And when you're ready to purchase, right? So they met the consumer where the consumer was at. Now, there's reasons for both of those. If you're lead generating, you might want that turned on so you're getting a higher quality of lead, right? So that's a whole topic of debate at another time. But Zillow met the consumer where the consumer was at, and that's kind of what allowed them to blow up, where every agent was being individualized and standing out, which is important. Zillow just
Sure.
came in as this brand, this ominous brand that was neutral to everybody.
Mhm.
Little did we know what that Trojan horse packed inside of it. It was something else. But with the newsletter is great. But staying engaged with your consumer online, maybe they're on Facebook more, maybe they're on Instagram more. You have to be able to reach them where they're at and be able to deliver whatever message it is where they're at. And the newsletter is great if it's done, in my eyes, the way that I would do it is it's landing on a website so I can pixelate them, so I can retarget them, and
Mhm.
it gets into that big old vicious circle, right? So they're always seeing us in my name. And I'm going to tell you a funny story about Smoke and Kenny Bunkport. Kenny Bunk, I'm sorry. Remind me to tell you about that story in a minute.
Okay. Yeah, so the newsletter is a nice one. It's a low friction touch. It's easy to get out. It's easy to get people to engage with that, as long as it's valuable content. Um,
Mhm.
Second pillar we always talk about is we need something that's going to cause people to get in touch with us. Doesn't mean you don't perform any actions, but you need something that's going to drive some inbound activity. So we do that through things like mailers. You can do it through postcards. You can run Facebook ads. You can do Google pay per click. You can do all kinds of things, but you ultimately need something that's going to drive some traffic to you, because you can't necessarily prospect and call every single person. But you do need another mechanism where you're doing something to get their attention, so that people that are interested are actually reaching out to you and saying, "Hey, I'm ready to do something right now. How do we get started?" And then the last one is you need some form of cold outbound lead generation. So that
Yeah.
might be circle prospecting. It might be expireds and FISBOs. It might be just listed, just solds. But you need somebody you can call when you've run out of people to call, to try to stir up some conversations. And that requires a lot of phone calls to make some contacts. But ultimately, you need to be engaging your database. You need to be doing something that's causing people to reach out to you because they're ready. Then you also need other people to call to try to create conversations, because if nothing else, it's going to give you people that you can stay in touch with, that you can add to that database, and then you put them right back into step one and keep going.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, it's a matter of how many people you can get into relationship with, maintain that relationship with, so that when the time comes they need to do something, or somebody they know needs to do something, you're the one they think of.
Yeah, and not only just that, I'm gonna throw a caveat into that, and it probably might fall under cold prospecting or database or somewhere around there. Um, your buyers are an amazing source of listings. I have always
Mhm.
found that. I don't know if you have found that.
Always.
Either with Maine, we have an influx of people coming up, right? Maybe 15% of the people that are buying are from out of state, 20%. I don't know. Have to look that up. I did a video on it. You think I would remember. But, anyways, that was so last week. Um, but the buyers, either you may get a listing out of it. This has been my experience, or they are going to be coming in from out of state and you get the referral out of it. Right.
Yeah.
So people, I think, fail to ask that question to people. Oh, yeah. They think, you're a buyer. What can I show you? Because they're thinking contractually, literally that one sale,
Mhm.
right? Transactionally, where ask some bigger questions and you might find a bigger pie.
Yeah, we've actually put that question on our buyer pre-qualification intake form, because what we
Mhm.
found is that many times the agent is so focused on getting the buyer in, they forget to ask the question of, where are you coming from? Do you have a home to sell?
Yeah.
And we've been surprised many times by buyers that had homes to sell that we weren't even aware of. And they thought the agent didn't sell the home because they didn't ask about selling the home. They thought they
Mhm.
only worked with buyers. So we've that's absolutely been an issue we've dealt with, and it's now a question we explicitly ask during the pre-qualification and onboarding to make sure we don't miss it, because we have before.
Yeah, I think it's an important question. You need to know everything about that buyer so you can ensure that you can represent them properly, because you're in charge of that transaction to a point. You gotta do your part. You don't win the Super Bowl sitting on the, if letting everybody else slack or slide, and you don't win the Super Bowl if you're the one slacking or sliding, right? Everybody has to execute their job, and your job is to know everything about that by pertinent to the transaction and the negotiations, and get it across the finish line. So these are, I think, important questions that definitely need to be asked. But again, so many people are just transactional and reactionary, and they're just, oh, I got somebody to talk to. I got to pay the mortgage, and they run out there and they work with that person. Where if you ask just a few more questions, you can stop running on the treadmill. Promise.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So next question we got in, looking at Facebook business pages. This is something that's always been a battle for a lot of us, which is, how do you get traffic to that business page?
Yeah.
And Facebook's not stupid. It is very much a pay to play game. They look at a business page as it's commerce. You're trying to sell something, and they want a cut of that action to deliver the people to you. So obviously the easiest way to get traffic to a Facebook business page is to run ads. But aside from that, Facebook really wants you to create consistent, engaging content that's going to keep people coming back to it. Because ultimately, if they're not going to get your ad money, they at least want you to keep eyes on the platform. So if you're creating consistent, engaging content, that helps. But it's also the ultimate networking game. Using that Facebook business page to tag people that you're maybe talking to, or tag people that you're targeting that message to, tag businesses that you're visiting. Trying to find a way to create that networking connection where you're including other people on it is going to drive more eyes to it and get more traffic to it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to flat out and say it this way, right? You pay to build the audience, and then you create content to engage with it, right? There's it's a pay to play world. That's it, right? So, but you're right. Use it as a networking platform, right? As real estate agents, we like to make everything all about us, the realtor, right? I'm going to say some harsh things. If you know me, you know. I have lots of people tell me they appreciate that. Some that say they don't. But anyways, real estate agents always make it about them, right? About you. And don't get me wrong, you want to build a brand. But and people will be like, you are the brand and stuff. But do you stand for something more than just John B. Realtor, right? John B. Realtor. Now let me just take that just one level deeper. John B. Realtor, your community expert, right? I just added something. Now I can be a community expert. I can simply go, everything I'm about to tell you is free. You can go to the town hall or the city hall, sitting on the planning meetings, look at the things that are coming up through the building departments and things that are happening. You can then go be the most notable person or the most knowledgeable person of your community to say, hey guys, I'm standing in a vacant area right now down on 132 Main Street. Y'all know the area. Did you know that this place was just approved to have a TJ Maxx come in? Or McDonald's or Burger King or something like that. Or, hey, this 100-acre woods over here with Christopher Robbins, it was just approved for a subdivision, right? Be that person, right? Don't give that news before the news gives that news, or at least when the news gives that news, repurpose that piece. Don't just share it. You can share it, which is cool. I like to share local things. That's cool. But you can then repurpose that piece in TikTok, in Instagram, in YouTube Shorts with that in the background and all sorts of other ways. So be the most knowledgeable person in your area. Don't just be, John B. Realtor, because nobody cares.
Right. And I love the post I see of, sold in 3 days, sold over asking, I won the gold award. At the end of the day, the consumer doesn't care that you got paid because you closed the deal. They don't care that you won an award. They care about the people you helped that led to that award, that led to that closing. So focus on the story, not the outcome. We all just want to share the outcome and pound our chest and tell people how important we are. But focus on the story, not the outcome, because that's what people actually care about. They want to know that you're in this business to help people, not just to pile up awards and cash checks.
When the general consumer finds out what those awards represent, they think you make too much money.
Right. Well, and when you tell people you sold a house for, 50,000 over asking in 3 days, the first thing they ask is, well, what did you actually do in those 3 days? Like, did you actually, did you earn that commission check? You're just pointing out the fact that it was easy. Like, I just put it out there and sold it.
Yeah, that's where I like to tell the story of where there was a big multi-million-dollar steamship and it wasn't running, and they just paid millions of dollars to have this thing built, and they called this engineer up, this mechanic. He came over there, listened around. hit one area with a hammer and gave them an invoice for 10,000. And the owner of the steamship company said, 10,000, I'm not paying 10,000. All you did was hit it with a hammer. I want an itemized invoice. And it said, hitting the engine with a hammer, $1, knowing where to hit the engine with the hammer, $9,999. Right. It really is about that.
Yep.
Right. And they want to know you care. They want to, now I can tell my funny story.
No, go for it.
It's not super funny because I'm not a comedian. I'm not very good with delivery. So I went to Smoke. I was up at the studio with you in South Portland. I went to Smoke and Kennebunk to do a video intentionally because I had burnt ends and I was going there to eat burnt ends to make the video. And so anyways, I usually will sit at the bar if I can. I don't need to take up a table. And I got into talking with this local and, he owned the landscaping company there for 50 years, right? Nice old dude. And so he got into asking me about what I'm doing, what Explore My Town is, what Explore Maine Life is, and, the projects that we're working on. And I said, well, I work with a real estate team up in Scarborough, the Matea Group. And he says to me, Jeff Matea? I said, yeah, you know Jeff? He goes, no, I've never met him in my life, but I know his commercials. And I start laughing. I said, yeah, right. So branding that, putting that out there, must be the jingle that Herb was talking about.
Probably.
Putting that out there, it makes a memorable experience. Right. And I know up in the Maine market, there's not a lot of people doing that. Right. There's not a lot of people taking advantage of radio and digital and these other things. But it's being remembered down in Kennebunk. And I don't know if, Kennebunk is a place I'd love to sell houses.
Mm-hmm.
Ain't a cheap one there.
No, there is not.
Right.
It's a great market.
So the fact that message is being, all the way down to reaching all the way down to Kennebunk. And here's a guy sitting at a bar that instantly said, Jeff Matea, right? Mm-hmm. I think that's pretty cool and pretty powerful. But that's the power of that's branding, right? And I think we need to understand the difference between branding and advertising.
Yeah, exactly. And we constantly hear the question around, will prettier marketing, will prettier graphics, will a better logo, will all these things matter? Ultimately, no, it's the messaging. It's what are you telling people on a consistent basis that's making them, first of all, remember you, and think that you'd be somebody they want to work with. Mm-hmm. It's not how pretty the graphics are, how pretty your logo is. It's, are you actually communicating with people in a way that they understand what you do and why they'd want to work with you?
Yeah, exactly that. 100%. What do we got next? What's the next question? I'm just getting warmed up, man.
I know. Next up question was, how do you stand out against other realtors?
Oh man, that's real simple. We just answered that.
I feel like we went into a lot of that.
Right. Yeah. We definitely did cover a lot of that. It's what makes you different, right? Really, what makes you different? People want to work with people they know, like, and trust. So how are you building that? How are you doing that? And you're not just going to go hand out 100 business cards and poof, you got business, right? Mm-hmm. This day and age, people are going to think you're freaky. I wouldn't take your business card. You got COVID. You got the germs, man. Get away from me. All right. But I'm not, hey, here's a business card. Oh, okay. Right. That's what's going to happen to it. So how are you standing out? How are you getting people to remember you? How are you telling your story? How are you showing them what your value proposition is, right? There is not a new gimmick out there that you're going to come in and offer that nobody's ever heard of or tried 100 times, right? I'll sell you a house in 90 days or I'll buy it, right? Yeah, I did that too. That was a Craig Proctor system way back in the day, right? Yeah, the fine print was so long and I bought that at a 50% discount, right? Nobody ever took it. It was never going to happen. But all these things, I'm honest, trustworthy. Well, prove it. How are you honest, trustworthy, and prove? I'll tell you how. By the parasocial relationship and by other people. Sphere hacking, right, is the most important thing. When I look online, I'm going to use something, right? When I look online, I see my real estate agent and what I'm in my mind, what I'm talking about right now is Jeff and Herb at Gritty's last week. Yep. When I see online a real estate agent, I got to finish my conversation with you in a minute. I left out a very important part. When I see my real estate agent online with somebody that is a pillar of the community, mm-hmm. who's a radio DJ, who everybody knows, been there for 35 years, who's an advocate for small businesses and the community. And, that gives my real estate agent instant credibility.
Yep.
Instant credibility. And now all of a sudden we got video of that with an amazing interview. At my dinner last night, The guy said to me something. I forget how we got to this point in the conversation. I said to him, I said, how many real estate agents in Kennebunk do you see giving back to their community? How many people are out here being advocates for small businesses and everything? He says, not a one of them. They're just worried about their percent. He said a number, but I won't say a number. They're just worried about their percent moving on
Yep.
to the next.
Yep.
I said, yeah, they sure are. He says, that Matea must have some money or something like that. He's always advertising and stuff. I said, yeah, and he earned every penny of that. But here's something that you might not know. We also gave back $40,000 to local Maine communities last year through different various charities. You know anybody that's done that? You guys really did that? I said, yeah, we really did that. I said, so it's okay to make a lot of money. You owned your own company. You charged everybody in this area too much money to build rock walls. I said, so we're doing the same thing. I believe in when you harvest from someplace, you have to replenish. I said, and that's the methodology that we follow, right?
Yep.
We're harvesting buyers and sellers. We're going to give back to the people in the community, right?
Yes.
In the communities in need. And that changed his whole turn, his whole tone. He's like, oh, well, I didn't realize that. I said, you do now. Make sure you let everybody know when it's time to buy or sell. Call Jeff Matea.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and it's to get back to the original question of how you stand out. I mean, that's a big piece of it. It's being visible in the community. It's being part of the community. It's that network you built. But also, more importantly, people are looking at. They want to hire an expert. They want to know that you know what you're doing. They want to know that you know their area. We hear agents all the time say, "Well, how many houses have you sold?" And you should be asking the question of, "Do you know the area?" And half of those agents are trying to prospect in markets they live 45 minutes to an hour away from. So trying to compete on that's a bad idea, but they want to know somebody who is an expert, who's going to take good care of them, who has great references and reviews, and has a track record. And if you're a newer agent, that's hard to get, but you can always rely on your brokerage or your team to be able to provide that track record, because ultimately you're going to do what they do. That's natural to come into a team or a brokerage and you're going to follow their training and do what they do. So ultimately you can share in that track record because you're going to get to that point at some point. But really they want to, when they're doing their due diligence, they want to see the fact that you're, community oriented, that you are an expert, that you provide good service, and that people actually like what you do. When you're posting about, I closed this and I won this award, and the consumer kind of goes, okay, but like, what are you doing? Like, what are you actually doing to get there? That's why that story is so important. Positioning yourself as somebody who cares, positioning yourself as somebody who helps people get what they want, and positioning yourself as an expert will help you stand out from the people that are just coming into a conversation with really good scripts. Yeah. Scripts will get you in the door, but they won't necessarily get you the client.
No, and I think, listen, if in the part of that conversation there was a little bit of, leaning into the brokerage or the team or the group or whatever the affiliation that you might have. This simple flip, it will make a profound difference when you master it. Remove I and replace it with we.
Yep.
I ain't doing nothing. We're going to do it.
Yep.
My team and I. I have people at the office to handle that. Don't worry about that. People are looking for confidence, right? They're looking for you to be the pilot, right? Are you going to get on a plane with a pilot that isn't really sure how to fly the plane, right? No, you're not. You're going to get on the plane with a pilot who is confident, that stands there, chest up, smiling, very confident, right? Like, okay, we're going to get there. It's the same thing. When you remove I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that too, or I can do this. We have done this. This is what we do. This is how we market properties. This is our track record, right? People don't often question it. People will still quote. Well, I'm asking about you particularly. That will happen. But Get that out of your mind and don't worry about it, because law of attraction says when you worry about it, it will happen. So just don't worry about it. And when that point hits, you don't get them all.
Yeah, agreed. And the I versus we is a big thing too. When we're talking to people that, when we're talking to potential vendors or referral partners or maybe even agents to join the team, if the conversation is a lot of I and not a lot of we, I get a little nervous, because that shows that this person is very much focused on themselves, what's in it for them, how it impacts them. And real estate is a team sport. You've got to be able to cooperate with all the various parties involved. And if you're an I-focused person, you're going to have a really tough time in a we-focused business. And that the way people talk is a big tell as to what you're going to be working with.
Yeah, for sure. So what else we got? We got any more questions?
Yeah, another question. how and when to ask for reviews.
Oh, that's a good one.
It is a good one.
Yeah.
So I'll give you my take on this. So we like to ask for reviews throughout the transaction, and it's generally at the high points. So you want to think about when they get under contract is a great time. They're all excited. They think you're the best ever. You got them under contract in the house they want. Awesome. Now's a great time to ask for a review, and just simply something along the lines of, really exciting time. Glad to hear that. If I've done a good job for you to this point, would you mind just giving me a review, and just give them the link to go leave the review. And you want to do that at all the various milestones, because that's a big thing. One thing that I've heard recently that made me kind of change my thinking on reviews is, you want that person to be thinking about you long after it happens. So the review cycle doesn't just stop when it closes. So we ask for reviews during the transaction. We ask for reviews shortly after the transaction, but we don't stop there. We continue. If we haven't seen a review from them, we continue to mention the fact that if they've had a great experience with us, it would mean a lot to us if they'd leave us a review. It helps other people, kind of learn about what we do, and it helps our business. And when people hear that, they're often like, "Oh yeah, I'd love to. You were great. How can I do it?" Send them the link. What we often do is say, "Hey, would you mind leaving me a review?" And they go, "Sure," and we stop. You need to take some of the friction out. You need to send them the link they can click on that takes them straight to the spot to review. You need to provide them a little bit more to make it easier.
Yeah.
And a lot of us do it in text message or email. And, really you want to be able to ask for that review when you're at a big milestone, you're talking to them, and you want to continue to ask for it. And we also make reviews part of our newsletter. It's part of our outgoing after the close conversation. It doesn't just stop there.
Yeah. It doesn't just stop there. I would continue as part of the process and say, you could even put into there, this is what other people are saying, right? My thing I want to take on that, when do you ask for reviews? What I like to do is not only ask for reviews throughout the process.
Mhm.
One of the things that I used to do, and I can't say I came up with this. No, there's nothing like really unique. It might have been somebody else that gave me the idea, but then I used the idea, and then I taught other people the idea, and they had great success with it. I mean, $80,000-$90,000 a year in GCI from it, right?
Mhm.
Was when you're working with the people. I was known at one time as the guy that can get you into Wyndham. Right now, Wyndham's a high priced area.
Mhm.
So I had all these, and I'm going to try not to sound ignorant when I say these millennial buyers, right? Because I don't think anybody's better or
No.
not than others. But these millennial buyers, 30, 32-year-old people, they've went to college, they're in their careers, they're starting their families, they're making great money. They're buying into one of the higher priced towns in New Hampshire, especially on the southern part of New Hampshire. And so I got to be known as the guy that can get you into Wyndham. And it all started with one referral from a mortgage friend of mine. And he said, "Hey, I think here's a layup for you." I said, "Okay." So I work with these people, and I did a barbecue for them, right? Housewarming barbecue. Well, I met all their
Yeah.
friends, and now I had all their friends and family on my list, right? And so now I sent them out pictures. This is when I was using the one that you can take photos and send the cards, send out cards.
Send out cards. Yep.
Got a send out card, of the barbecue in front of the house or whatever like that. I coordinated the whole thing. See, all these things, they don't just happen. They're intentional.
Mhm.
They're not reactionary. I got everybody together to take a photo in front of the house, right, and sent it. But now all of a sudden, I got to meet their friends and their family. And one couple said, "Hey, we're getting ready to buy in the next couple of months too." Oh, great. Do you need a mortgage person? Hey, Jay, got another one, right? Now all of a sudden they had a housewarming barbecue for them. Had somebody else. Oh, we're thinking about selling to Mass and moving up to New Hampshire. Can you help us? Absolutely, right? So, asking for referrals should be in the process, just like asking for reviews at the same time. And it's real simple. You can say, I would be intentional about everything that I do
Mhm.
and every conversation I have. Hey, Harrison, what do you think about my communication current? What do you think about my communication so far? Am I a good communicator? Yeah. Do you mind? Boom, send you the referral right there. Filling out a referral, give me, do you think it's 5-star? Put 5-star, saying that I'm a good communicator. And
Yep.
then when I'm with Tina, I might say, "Hey, Tina, what do you think about my process and my feedback and everything so far? Do you think am I giving you 5-star service? Yeah. Do you mind?"
Mhm.
Right? Letting the world know that I'm a good communicator. Here you go. Right. So I think it's also in having that script, your own
Mhm.
intentional script when you're going to ask, how you're going to ask, because you have to. I don't want to offend anybody, but the moment that somebody taught me to start talking to people like we're in 6th grade, everything changed, right? So you have to literally tell
Yep.
them what you want and show them how to do it right then and there. Or, I think you'll increase your chances of getting those referrals, but also reviews. Tell them what you want. Be intentional about it.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got to make it easy on them. You've got to make it so straightforward and simple that, click a button, type these few things in and submit. And then back to the referral thing. I've actually had really good luck along the way when I've been talking to clients and basically just said something along the lines of, if you feel like this has gone really well and you've enjoyed working with me, is there somebody else, in your world or somebody else in your network you think that maybe I could help or maybe I should know? I'd love an introduction.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times we just say, hey, who do you know looking to buy or sell? Hey, you got any referrals for me? Nobody wants to give you a referral. They'd love to make an introduction, but they
Sure.
do not want to give you a referral.
Yeah.
Because that kind of has the assumption of this person's going to do something. And I don't care if they want to do something or not. I just want to meet them so you can go into my database and become part of that follow-up, get my newsletter, and stay in my world. I don't need them to buy or sell right now. I just want to know who I should know. And I do that with clients. I do that with vendors. I do that with, friends and family. Who do you know that I should know?
Yeah,
and
for sure.
just try to get an intro.
That's it. And man, let me tell you, I know that there's two schools of thought on this. I know that there's some people out there looking for it now, looking for it now, looking for it now. Close. If you're not doing a deal in the next 3 months, I don't even want to know you. Right. There's some of that. The problem is that's how you're going to always be. Right. Being the way that you're talking about and building the referrals and stuff like that will allow you. I remember one time I had gotten a new Agent Master website and it was killer. And then Michael Bean ended up buying out Agent Master websites and Adam Dow had an agent. I found it because I saw Adam Dow's website. I'm like, I got to get this too. And I remember sitting and talking to somebody putting it together. And I said, I want to be sitting in a hot tub just giving out referrals. Well, that dream still exists for me. Right. I haven't quite gotten there. But I still want to sit in a hot tub, hand out referrals, just yay. And the only way I'm going to do that is and it's the same thing as if you have a team or a brokerage or what do they call them? Teamerage, right? You're bringing in business and oftentimes you're delegating it out. That's the same thing. I'm just going to do it without any friction sitting in a hot tub. But the only way that it's going to happen is by building that sphere, by building that. And one story I want to tell is, it's no secret I have Explore My Town. I do videos, right? And I've been proving to everybody starting December 21st, I think it was, brand new channels, brand new everything. So I'm just going to go out there and do it. I'm doing more for the communities in Maine than people that live there, right? I don't mean that disrespectfully. I told you all in October I was going to do it. Told you your clients are going to see my videos. I did it. I said it right up on stage.
Yep.
Your clients are going to see my videos, right? Anybody can do it. It's not cost me the price of eating, right? Anybody can do it. And so as a result of one of the videos, a small town, Sanford, which is a little removed, but there's still a great population there and it's semi-border town to New Hampshire. So in 10 years, that place is going to be booming, right? It's definitely an emerging area. One of the people, Friends of Downtown, commerce group, shared my video, tagged everybody in it and stuff like that. So now we're going to start a collaboration of where we're going to go up there. We're going to line up like, hey, this restaurant at 10, this restaurant at 11, this restaurant at 12, this restaurant at 1. And at 2 o'clock, we're going to end up at Richie's new because they're moving into a bigger location. We're going to end up there with a grand opening party. You know what I mean? It's not going to cost us anything. But we're going to be able to bring our audience. We're going to be able to bring our social medias and our cameras. And more than that, our care and our compassion, right? Our care and compassion about helping these small businesses survive. That's our mission, right? So now all of a sudden, client's going to see that. And everybody's going to have on Matea jackets or whatever. And it's going to be like, this is Jeff Matea, team leader of the Matea Group. This is one of the ways that we give back to the community. You might have heard his jingle. Right.
We've heard the jingle.
Right. So that's how do you stand out? How do you grow your sphere? That's how you do it. Yep. That's how you create content too.
Yeah. And the beauty of it is at that point now you're looking at more attraction marketing. People are seeing all these things and they want to work with you. It's not about you chasing them or prospecting for them. They're now calling you to say, how do I work with you? You know, you're this community, you're this expert community networker, you're the pillar of a community, you're the master networker, you're the 7 levels of communication type person. Um, and now you're not searching for business, it's coming to you. And there's tons of examples of where that's worked with other teams and brokerages around the country where they've been able to create that community centered approach that's now brought, it took time, but now the community comes to them because they're the ones they want to work with.
Definitely takes a little bit of time. You know, one of the things I think that holds people back is a conversation that you and I have, and it's the same conversation I had with Jeff at lunch yesterday. We went to film at El Royo, and we were talking and stuff. And you know, he as a team leader, he's the rainmaker. Watch this guy. I mean, we don't go anywhere without him knowing 9 people. We don't go anywhere without him on the phone, texting, messaging, whatever. And it's nonstop, right? He's the rainmaker. He's making it happen for dozens of people. And so, I said to him, I said, well, what we're experiencing here, this friction, I said, is the same thing that every team leader across the country experiences. You know, what do I say? How do I say it? Right? Not just team leader for recruiting, but you know, team leader as the rainmaker, as the marketer, as the godhead of the brand, if you would. And so, what I said was, if people would commit, just like we did, because I we had committed to me coming up 10 to 3, working in the studio or going around filming and stuff like that, talking, collaborating, whatever we do. But we nailed it down that if somebody is willing to invest uninterrupted time for just 2 hours a week. Now that's with somebody that's going to edit it for you and stuff like that, like we do. If you got to create the content, then you know there's a little bit more time involved. But if you're a team leader and a rainmaker, you should be delegating that stuff out so you can stay focused on your high producing activities. Right. Now all of a sudden we were like, okay, 2 hours. When you know what you want to say, you can go out there and you can bang out these videos. You know, 3 hours tops. We covered a whole bunch of different topics yesterday. Right. But if you can just dedicate 3 hours a week to creating content, and I'm gonna anger the gods that be, because there's 2 schools of thought again with what I'm about to say. Some people are about, oh, you got to post nonstop content. And I'm like, no, you need to post intentional content with a little bit of ad spend behind it, but through my method of sphere hacking and giving back. And you're gonna have to determine what it is that you want to do. Do you want to be a social media influencer? Then post 3 to 5 times a day. Are you trying to build up a local following? And, you know, I'd rather have 500 local followers than 10,000 national followers.
Agreed.
Just saying it, right? So I know what my impact just since December 21st is looking like and where it's going and the conversations that are being had. So when you're intentional, you know exactly what you want to do. And it comes down to these 2 things that every coach in the world is going to tell you. Time block and discipline, right? Yep. Time block those 2 or 3 hours and have the discipline. They're non-negotiable times, right? And that's why I even said in my email, hey, this is non-negotiable for me. You know, I'll come up if you want me to sit in the chair, I'll sit in the chair, but I'm going to go film, right?
Right, exactly.
So it's that non-negotiable time block for yourself. It's not for anybody else. It's for you.
Right. Yeah. So, you know, one of the common questions I hear about video creation is time, which you just nailed on. The other one is, how do I get started? You know, and I know I had this problem for myself where it was like, you know, how do I get started? Like, what do I have to say? What am I going to do? How am I going to do this? And a lot of people get stuck in that getting ready to get started phase. So when people come to you and they don't know how to get started, Johnny Mo, what's the best way to just get started?
Tell interesting stories about people, places, and things in your community. Make it about other people, not you. Nobody cares. Nobody really cares about you, your dog. Yeah, you'll get some follows, you'll get some likes, you'll get some engagement. Some people but that humanizes it. No, you know what humanizes everything? Is a relationship. So use video as a networking means, as a network, and it builds that notoriety. You have to have that. But don't rely solely on that. So tell interesting stories about people, places, and things. Take you out of the equation, and you'll never have anything to worry about again. You go, hey, who's got the best coffee? Who's got the best chicken wing? Who has the best barbecue in Maine? Right? It's going crazy.
Yeah.
People engage and talk.
Right. But to do all that, I need a really expensive camera, lighting, microphones, people. I mean, I can't afford to get started if I need all that stuff.
Yeah, man. I use this and I have a set of 49. I got multiple different mics. The first set was $189. They're down to $139 now, but they have a wire. I have another set that's wireless. I think I paid $59 for, and there's two microphones, so your interview set. Then I have another set that my daughter got me where it's just one microphone. It's got great clarity. I think the thing was $29. So yeah, I mean, you need all that expensive stuff. You can use something just like this, right? This I think might have. I think it came on a light, and I took the little light piece and I turned it into a little tripod, right? So this right here, this is the most expensive part at about $10. I use a switch pod. It's $99. So no, you don't need expensive anything to start, because here's the thing about social media, it's not 4K.
Hmm.
So you don't need to shoot in 4K. 1080 is fine. 720 is really fine, but 1080, I use 60 frames per second. Eats up a lot of memory, but 1080 at 30 frames per second on your traditional smartphone, you're good.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're
It doesn't
good.
have to be HGTV quality. People like to see it. They like to see it real. They see it raw. And I love to use the example of Joe Rogan. Here's the biggest podcast in the world, and it looks like it's being filmed in a dingy basement on an old flip phone.
Yeah,
but people love it.
they love it. That's part of I think that's part of the allure to it. So
Yeah.
all right, we got 4 more minutes before I got to jump. What else we got? What do we have?
That was it for the questions, Johnny Mo. It was really, we had a separate conversation about video that we really just hit on, and those were all of our questions. So I think it was a good session. Hopefully, people got some value out of it. And as always, we give if questions come in, we're happy to jump on and do this. If we can't answer them, we're happy to find somebody who can. Just trying to bring some value and help people out, because it's definitely a different market than it was. We're digging in. We're doing a lot of, I would say, a lot of the same activities, but we're doing more of them.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it used to take, 5 leads to get a deal. Now it takes 10 or 15 or maybe even 20. So it's continuing to do the activities. That's why the 90 and 90 is so great. The link's in the chat if you want to join us. It's a great time to get restarted, because the last couple of years have really changed. I think for a lot of us, it's changed our approach. We expect the market to be like that. I don't think it's going to be like that again. At interest rates at 3%, inflation at 10%, sellers couldn't sell fast enough and buyers couldn't buy enough. Now we're in something closer to normal, and we actually have to show off our skills and help find motivated people. So,
Earn that.
Back to basics. Yeah. Back to basics.
Back to basics, man. And that's true. It's really, people always looking for that easy button. It doesn't exist. Know who you are, know what you like, because what works for Harrison might not work for me.
100%.
What works for me might not work for you. So know your unique thing, but at the end of it all, no matter what, the conversation is what you're after. You're after the conversation, the relationship with people. And the more conversations you have, the more contracts you're going to write, because the more people, if you're trustworthy, if you stay top of mind, right? It's not just, I need to go make 100 relationships as quick as I can. Right. No, you got to bring something of value, right? You got to bring something of value to that relationship. What is it about you that brings that value?
Yeah, exactly. Everybody knows a bunch of realtors. How do you make sure you're the one they think of when the time comes?
That's right.
So, all right. Well, with that, Johnny Mo, it was good to see you. Happy Friday, everybody.
Everybody, thank you.
And we'll do it again sometime soon.
Yeah, let's do this. Keep posting questions and we'll keep coming live. Maybe we'll make this a weekly thing, come live and have this conversation about different things.
Love it. All right. Well, have a good week.